And for the last time today, folks, welcome back to the MPW Weekly Cup number 16. My name is Blue, and we are heading into the grand finals right now. It is between Outplayed by Children and Outplayed by Children. Just kidding. It is between Team Excelsior and Outplayed by Children. Team Excelsior does have 2 players from the main roster of Outplayed by Children, however, so it does make things a little bit odd. Regardless, heading into the game right now, we do have our full 5 maps picked and ready to go. This is why we had to wait a little bit longer to get the game started, as we were having some difficulties getting that map rotation settled, but it has been settled now. So we'll be starting off over here on the Temple of the Silent Storm, moving over after that over to Legacy of the Fofar. Our 3rd map will be over on the Forest of Niflhel. Our 4th map will be the Battle of Kylo, and then our 5th and final map, if required, of course, will be back on the Forest of Niflhel. Very quickly going to go over the builds for Team Excelsior, as we have not seen them play yet today. First off, looking at Zeus playing his trademark Scepter Focus Fresh Air build, along with the Runes of the Ogre and Zerker's Amulet obviously being used there. Very, very, very big DPS in this build, but very, very squishy as well, so we will have to be extremely careful with making sure he keeps himself up and running. Moving on from that, we have just note this too, we have 2 Necromancers on this team as well, so that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. Taking a look over here, Zombify running a pretty typical POC Necro build, 06404. Running with a Karen Amulet and Runes of the Nightmare staff, as well as Scepter Dagger as well. Very heavy Condi focus on this build, and going to be extremely good for a team fight. Somewhat low mobility and as well pretty bad escape potentiality beyond his Worm and possibly Spectral Walk. So with that said, he is going to have to be pretty careful in the team fights, making sure he doesn't get too deep into enemy territory, or he will get kind of gimped out, but regardless, he is still going to be very potent in applying Condis to an enemy, specifically on people like Magic Toker and whatnot. We'll really have to be careful of him in team fights. Of course, moving on from that, we have Nas, who is playing the same exact build, so we don't really need to go over that. Kensuda playing Guardian is going to be running with a Cleric's Amulet, Runes of the Soldier, as well as Staff and Mace and Focus, and with the traits being 01661, it will be an altruistic healing build, meaning it's a little bit more selfish than some Bunker Guardian builds are. Say like a Virtues build with 00266 tends to be a little bit more on the team support side, but he can still definitely keep his teammates alive just as good. But again, the altruistic healing is going to boost the potency, mainly speaking of his Empower ability here once again, which again, the more teammates he has around him, the more he's able to might stack them, and the more healing he is going to get throughout the course of that channeled ability there. Cade, of course, as well, will be playing, I believe, DP. That is kind of his trademark thing, and that is, of course, the case. It will be a dagger pistol build, very similar to Magic Toker, if not the exact same thing. I think the only difference coming into play there is the rune choices, so once more, kind of a crouching tiger build. You got to wait for your opportunity to engage, and then you just dive in with all of that DPS. But anyway, we are pretty much ready to go here. The gates have just opened, so our first game on this best of 5 set is now getting started. Opening up our map, let us check out the splits. We do have some bit of hesitation from the blue team here, grouping up for stealth as they are about to cross over. I'm very curious to see if Zeus is going to catch on to this. Zeus, ooh, just out of range of that pull from backpack there, I think. Would have been a very clutch way to start the game by tossing Zeus down into the hole there. But regardless, they are going to open up onto him. Very good swirling winds comes out there from Zeus to counter out the secondary knockback that was going to come in from backpack. And as well, this will give Zeus an opportunity to engage on the backpack himself. Backpack had his block ready to go though, so he was able to get out of the way of that. But unfortunately, because of all this pressure that was coming in from the blue team there, they're going to pretty much just take a free cap back over here at the altar and get a very quick advantage in that regard. Cade, however, very quick to rotate. He's going to get back over here towards the altar and score a decap there as soon as his stealth expires. Don't see anyone else coming in from the blue team yet, just back in middle as well. I believe on purpose, though, we have seen a red team cap happening back over here at the gate. I don't believe they were trying to contest that, but they may do so now that they've gotten their initial caps off of here. You've got Rar kind of poking around the zone here with Ken in play. I'm not sure if he's going to go for that. Keep in mind that Rar is actually running with a Soldier's Hambo build, not a Zerker's Hambo build, so the Soldier's in play, probably a pretty low chance of him actually being able to knock out Ken in a 1v1 there, so kind of a futile fight trying to push for that. And as well, red team could probably pretty easily reinforce anyone else that would try to come over to that. But we've got a pretty interesting skirmish happening just off of the blue team's home, though. As you take a look at this, we've got Magic Toker and Fantram kind of playing around with Nas as well as Ken. Cade's within the area here too, but I think Cade's a little bit more focused on getting towards mid. Both these guys just trying to skirmish, kind of just trying to flaunt their muscles here at the moment. Nobody really pushing onto that node itself, and because of that, we actually do see Zeus just kind of chilling on there, waiting for someone else to come, and blue team, as they kind of consider if they want to push this or not. I'm still a bit confused as to what blue team's strategy actually is here. As again, obviously, they do need to be pushing into these nodes, but we weren't really seeing that until a few seconds ago when they finally decided to make a concise push over towards the middle node, which we are seeing now. H-Man, as well as I believe Fantram and now Rar as well, all grouped up, are going to go for that gate point now. They've scored that decap, and as well on the defending side of this, you've got Zombify and Ken. Zombify again, not the probably the best person to kind of have out in the front here, taking all that damage, especially from those 3 players on the blue team. And because of that kind of brunt of that, he's going to be thrown into the down state. It looks like Ken should be able to get him back up though, and of course that will be the case. But overall, there definitely don't want to have your Necro directly out in the front of the fight, as that will lead to a very bad time, regardless of in general how many people you have around him supporting him. So with that said, Zombie's actually going to jump back up top, but no! Big burst from Magic Toker, catches onto Zombify, moving out of the team fight, and with that said, takes the opportunity to knock him out. Very good timing there indeed. Cade tried to come over and save the day, but that was not going to happen at all, as that was a very, very quick kill from Magic Toker, and instantly jumping back down here as well. Cade is playing Thief Hunter at the moment, is trying to find Magic Toker and knock him out of play to prevent him from being of any more trouble, as again, Magic Toker is probably going to be these teams' greatest enemy, as the second they move away, that's going to be so much burst that Magic Toker will be able to throw in those guys, and that'll be a pretty big utility for them to keep using. But checking out some of the other nodes over here, we do have Backpack going up against Zeus for control of the altar at the moment. Backpack should be able to take that in just a second, but Cade will come over and attempt to stop that. Backpack a little bit too quick, I think, there on the gear shield. With that said, Cade's going to open himself up for a lot of DPS. H-Man coming in, thankfully, to support that, though, and we'll just barely, I think, save Backpack now. And with that, we will be seeing Cade kind of leave this fight for the time being, and Backpack will have to go over it and recap. And right now, we've actually got on this map a pretty odd scenario where literally no one has any caps. Everyone is fighting. Everyone is kind of moving over towards this buff here, I just noticed too. H-Man just barely missing the opportunity to cap that. Thankfully, Cade jumped onto the body there just in the nick of time, but at the same time, we're going to see that retaliation coming out here from H-Man as well now too, as he definitely wants to ensure he gets that cap. Very close game though, at 120 to 98. This is still really anyone's game, as both teams are going to kind of be vying for control of just really any points here over the next few minutes. You've got Rar back over here on the point. Keep in mind that Zeus, unfortunately, won't really be able to fight Rar on the point itself while he doesn't have any knockdowns available. Right now, with the initiation coming off, he can definitely get within close quarters, but he has to be very, very careful. And you can see here again that with these little screw-ups here and with him not being able to dodge out of the way of the hammer skills, he is forced to use some of his higher cooldown defensive utilities to keep himself up and rolling here. But at the same time, he's actually kind of forced, as you can see here, too, to fight on the node itself, just so he can keep some extra pressure on Rar. But it really, again, at the end of the day, an SF Fresh early does not even come close to the amount of on-point pressure that a Hambo can do. So with that said, Zeus is actually just going to be leaving this fight, and that will have led to probably a wasted, like, 20 to 30 seconds there. Blue team, though, having that one cap and getting control of the buff a few seconds ago there, too, actually is now going to take a very, very small lead. If Backpack is able to take this 1v1, which with Zeus coming in is going to be somewhat unlikely, and actually, no, Zeus turns around there, too. But if Backpack is able to take this 1v1, that lead will extend even more into the favor of Outplay, but that'll obviously be pretty heavily reliant on if they can take the 1v1. Thankfully, Rar will come in though, and again, with the 2v1, things will be looking pretty much up here from the blue team for over the next few moments. Heading back towards mid though to check that out, H-Man goes down, so red team still looking pretty good on defending that midpoint, but that is really where the red team's, that's really where red team's bonuses kind of end here, I've noticed, is that red team is having quite a bit of trouble holding a consistent 2 cap, and this is mainly due to the composition that we see being used over here by the blue team, I would say. Again, they're running that comp that doesn't run with a Guardian. That's very, very, very quickly sort of become a thing. At least on North American servers, it's just because of the fact that, again, it does allow you to fight a lot more fights and just in general move guys around a lot quicker there, because you have a lot of guys that are built for kind of more solo play. You have a lot of guys that can do very well on their own, and in general, that does allow you to extend your fights with little to no consequences compared to, again, with a more normal comp like we see here on the red team, where when you do kind of spread yourselves out, you do have some guys that necessarily aren't really built too well for spreading themselves out and fighting on their own there. So with that said, it leads to very bad situations when you have when you have a more normal comp like the red team and a more extended comp like the blue team fighting. Red team does get their strength from trying to group up and fight, when again, if you force them into a big fight, if you force members of the blue team into a big fight against the red team is almost always going to come out on top just in general, because they're not really built for team fighting, they're built for smaller node skirmishes. But at the same time, on this map specifically, it is very, very hard to accomplish. But what we just saw there was actually very impressive, that 3v2, very, very quick burst going off to Kensuda there, CC comboing that into an eviscerate, as well as burst that was coming in there from Magic Toker as well. A lot of very quick kill to go off onto Kensuda there. Very impressive indeed, and that will allow blue team to take a 2 cap here now. But at the same time, like we were just talking about, you've got another 2v2 going on here. These guys are built for fighting on their own here. You've got Backpack holding himself up fairly well. Rar as well is under quite a bit of pressure, but it's going to get brought back down to a 2v1 in a moment here anyway, which is going to be Zeus' signal to just leave this fight. He's really not built for this kind of thing, so he's going to be forced off this node too in just a second. And once more, blue team will take another advantage on this node. We have the top buff getting almost immediately channeled into the favor of Outplayed by Children, so with that, once more, they're going to take a 4-cap back over here as well, and that'll just rocket them ahead even more. Zombify once again locked down. That's what I was talking about there just a few seconds ago. These guys are not built for fighting on their own and even maneuvering the map on their own really either. They have to wait for group ups. No one on the blue team really has to do that. They're all pretty self-sustainable, so they can go wherever they do please with little to no consequence unless they walk like into a 1v3 or something like that. So unfortunately here, blue team with just in general, the blue team is being heavily favored at the moment here by this map, as I talked about earlier, because they can fight over at the top and have that advantage there. Red team, with them being kind of scrambled all over the map, and good kill by Magitoker on a Cade there, they are going to be able to just in general fight a much better game on this map at the moment, and that's showing itself very strongly here with this 370 point spread for Outplayed by Children and only 220 for Team Excelsior here. Heading down to the bottom buff as we check out what is happening there. We have not actually really looked into that too much just as of yet. We've got Kinsuda going up against Fantaram for control of that. Fantaram once again trying his best to keep the pressure on the Kinsuda, but that's obviously a very hard target to knock out. A full-on Bunker Guardian has a lot of self-sustainability, and of course is a very tanky individual indeed, but they are making that progress here as well. If they can lock that down, that's going to be an extremely good thing for the blue team, obviously, is that'll once again impede the red team from actually getting any caps back whatsoever here. But red team really, again, they just need to try and pressure a big mid fight. If they can find a hole there, if they can force a large fight, if they can try to get their opponents locked into one of those scenarios where they're fighting 4-on-4 or 4-on-5 or even larger, or even a full 5-on-5 there. That will again be the saving grace here for Team Excelsior. But on a map like this where you can fight up on the top for the majority of the time, and you really can almost at all times basically avoid a big 5-on-5 like that, I find it a very unlikely scenario, which is why again we're so heavily favoring the blue team here at the moment. And as well, with them getting that bottom buff, channel that 3 cap is once again going to be solidified. They have a solid holds on 2 out of those 3 capture points, so they will be holding control over the temple as well as the gate. Back down over here in the middle, Fanta looks like he's just going to be camping there to make sure he holds on to that. Cade versus Backpack. Backpack definitely has enough survivability to hold on to this, so I do not envision this being stolen by Cade anytime soon. And as well with Rar and Zeus coming here, that'll solidify that and that much more. Zeus again, very much so a squishy player and won't be able to knock out Backpack quickly enough, I feel, in order to make a difference here in this fight. Meanwhile, back over at the altar as well, you have Nas coming in, and Nas, again, as you can see, kind of just sitting there at the moment. So with that said, we are going to be looking at Game 1 going into the favor of Outplayed by Children, which means they will be up 1-0, and they will be 2 victories away from claiming this week's cup, guys. Once again, we're going to be heading over to Map 2 in just a few moments here. Map 2, once again, will be over on the Legacy of the Fofar, and I personally feel that that map will be favoring Team Excelsior much more heavily, but we're obviously going to find it out. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes, but for now we're going to take a short 1 to 2 minute break to get the reload and get our teams ready for our next game over on Legacy of the Fofar. Stick around for the continuation, guys, of this set.
to nail down your strategy.
And welcome back once again, guys, to the grand finals of the Misspedia Weekly Conquest Cup number 16. It is Team Excelsior on the red side versus Outplayed by Children on the blue side here. We just saw Outplayed by Children take a game one on Legacy, on Temple, but we're now heading on to Legacy for our second game, which I feel personally will be a much more different game. Keep in mind the last time, and just keep in mind the comps here too. On that last map, blue team has a much better comp that is suited for kind of just fighting on smaller nodes and moving very quickly in between those nodes. That last map, that's basically what that last map was about there. So they had a very large advantage going into this one. But now over here on this map, where again, red team can force large engagements. So basically blue team at some point in the game is going to be forced into a large engagement. I feel will take a much more stronger toll because again, we are going to see them eventually have to fight for mid. And with that said, most of the members of Outplayed are going to have to go into a big team fight for that. And that is not what they are built for. They are built for small node skirmishes. And if they don't have those those, then they are not necessarily going to be in the best position. So with that said, I feel personally that red team is going to be much more stronger on this map. We've already seen evidence of that with this very aggressive opener here from the members of Team Excelsior, sending 3 of their guys over here to the blue team home node. We saw them successfully kill one Magic Toker as that was, and H-Man actually was forced to retreat into his own team's base. So with that said here, red team already looking very good, and while taking that far node, they did actually lose control of their home node, but in the long scope of things, that shouldn't matter too much here, as once again, they're going to get the reinforcements back over to mid and should be able to get a pretty good fighting advantage going back over there. Now there is going to be some extra pressure coming in, and this will be against Zeus too, so keep in mind this is not the best scenario for Zeus to be in. I'm not actually entirely 100% sure why we saw Zeus stay back over here instead of possibly like one of the Necros or something like that, because again, Zeus is probably one of the squishiest players on this team, if not the squishiest players. Granted, again, the majority of Team Excelsior here is a rather squishy individual, so in general, the concept of them trying to hold a consistent 2 cap while 2 fights are going on at once is going to be a very hard concept for them. They're very reliant on very quick rotations and very quick reinforcements of nodes, and if they don't have that as well, like we were seeing in that last map, like they were kind of unable to get, that really is where it starts to hurt Team Excelsior. It is so bad here. But it has been brought back up to a 2v2, so we have Zeus as well as Zombify. Very good spread, of course, of Burst and Condies going up against Magic Toker as well as H-Man here, and H-Man unfortunately looks like he's going to be going down within the next few seconds here, and as well Magic Toker really just cannot go for that res, at least can't go for that directly. If he has an SR, he may be able to attempt it, but with Zeus in play, that's way too dangerous of a scenario, and yeah, as you're going to see there, Zeus will actually completely knock out Magic Toker before any of that can even happen, so they will be able to knock both of these players off the map here for 15 seconds, and as well, Zeus as well as Zombify will be recapturing the waterfall node for Team Excelsior once more. Back in mid, however, we actually saw Nos get knocked out here, who was here defending it. Not entirely sure where Ken moved to, but actually, yeah, Ken's actually rotated completely over here to the quarry, as Cade was fighting here for some time too, and I think they have more of an interest in possibly trying to take this back, which unfortunately has left them somewhat more vulnerable back over towards middle there. Zombify managed to reinforce that, thankfully, because the fight back over there waterfall ended quickly enough, but with Ken kind of being on the back burner here over here towards the quarry, that in general kind of is going to open up a Pandora's box, because blue team can pretty much freely go for any of these fights whatsoever, and Ken is just forced into a stalemated 1v1, which he has no way out of here at the moment. They'll have to rotate him out at some point here. With Cade coming in, they may get that option, but in general, lacking of your bunker guarding, especially with this comp that the red team's running at the moment, is going to be a very bad thing in my opinion here. The red team's got to be really careful with how they fight over these next few minutes, because without Ken in the repertoire in the fights, it's really going to be hurting them, as blue team can just go for that damage pretty much without any consequences whatsoever of it being reinforced. Checking out the fight itself, however, we're currently looking at Zombify's point of view. One of the Necromancers here from Team Excelsior, actually really good peel going off there on Nua, off of Nos, actually getting Phantom completely knocked out of the fight, really loading him up with Connies here, and is going to immediately try to do the same thing back over on H-Man, and H-Man too is really suffering from that. Take a look at this, absolutely destroying him here at the moment. Thankfully, H-Man has that banner ready to go, so we'll get Fanta right back up, but he might rely on Fanta's help here in just a second too, because it looks like he may end up going down. Magic Toker has that big deeps going off on his Zombify at the moment, and again, not looking like there's going to be any sign of that relenting anytime soon here. Thankfully does. No, actually, I thought Zombify was going to pop that heal off, but apparently not, and a very quick Mistform Stomp too comes off there from Phantom. That's going to knock Zombie out, and once again, give blue team the advantage back over here towards mid. Nos goes out too, and just a note again, this is what I was talking about. They do not have Ken in the fight back over there at the middle point, and with that said, their guys are just getting knocked out one by one over there, and it is opening up more and more of a possibility for blue team to actually get the decap back over here at Waterfall 2. That is what they cannot have happen. They can let their opponents take control of mid, but they cannot lose this far point, otherwise things are just going to completely fall apart for them. And it looks like that may be the case. Zeus will be going down over here at the Waterfall in just a moment, as we saw back over here too, going over to Cade's point of view. We did actually see the red team finally kind of wiping up the fight over there, finally knocking out, I believe it was Rar, who had been contesting it for such a long time. But again, they've managed to wipe that fight up just way too late here. They're arriving at middle with it already being at a full cap, and you can see evidence of that here too, with blue team already having solid enough positioning. They're already putting pressure on the Cade before he even really engages onto a fight there. So with that said, red team's really going to be forced back into a corner here, once again, as they kind of wait for a regroup to happen that they can appropriately push into another point here with. Opening up, or actually rather moving back over here towards middle so we can get a better view of things. You once again, like I said here, you've got Backpack kind of up on the staging ground at the moment. They are trying their best to push him back. You even saw there too that you had actually Kensuda pushing over towards Backpack just to get him away from Zombie a little bit, as Zombie was not in the best spot there too. But at the moment, blue team has a pretty consistent hold of pretty much anything they need to. So at the very least, again, even if things go absolutely horribly for Outplayed over the next few seconds, they should at the very least be able to make their comeback, if not start to take a little bit of a lead here in this game, just because again, they've really put the red team in a bit of a pickle here with the positioning at the moment. Zeus though actually got hit pretty heavily by some bursts, thankfully had cooldown, so we'll be able to escape, but won't really have those available for a team fight once again, so we'll be seeing him play rather passively in the team fight itself. Back on the mid fight itself, we can see that Backpack actually has gone down. So has Zombify though, however, so we have a bit of a stomp race. It looks like Fanta's playing this one a little bit more passively and is going to go for Backpack, trying to get him back up there. At the same time, Zombie is still in the down state. Thankfully, Nas had that corrupt boon ready to go and actually stop the crate from going down. It looks like, however, that was not enough in order to get Zombie back up. Nas as well, just going to be the next target here for blue team to knock out, and I believe they should be taking him out as soon as his death shot expires. Going to transfer over to his point of view. Actually, no, not even really going to need to, as we're going to see him going almost immediately down there once again, and it looks like he should be getting knocked out. So once again here, blue team really showing their stuff, as we have seen red team forced into some rather unfortunate rotationary scenarios. Like I said, having Ken back over there at that home node, I really would not have agreed with, to be completely honest here. And actually, guys, I do actually need to reset this match, because once more here, we are... So actually, again, just to reiterate our rules on resetting here, so long as the team is in the lead here, we do allow resets to happen, as long as there isn't significant enough evidence to suggest it was like a, like a foul play reset. But considering the events that have been going on today, and just in general, considering that the reset was requested while Team Excelsior was in the lead, we will actually be resetting this map, guys. So give me just a moment here. I just have to change the map rotation very quickly. Alright, so give me 1 second. Alright guys, so we are once again going to reset the map here, and we will reset scores back down to 0-0, so give us just a few minutes, and as soon as we're ready to go, we're coming back to you with this resetted game 2. Be right back, guys. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We just had to reset the second game here now in our grand finals for this week between Team Excelsior and Outplayed by Children. Again, just to reiterate once more on our reset rules, the reset from Team Excelsior was requested while they were still in the lead, and as far as our rules are concerned, that is all that is required to do a valid reset that late into the game. You can always request a reset within the first 60 seconds of the game, but as we saw there, again, we were obviously much later than that, but Team Excelsior was still within the position to ask for a reset at that time. Normally, considering the circumstances of that game, it would have been a little bit more suspicious, but with the issues with the servers going on today, and of course with us not having enough valid evidence to suggest foul play, we are going to allow that reset without any further investigation. Anyway, however, we are now getting started with the second game, and we're seeing actually a much more different opener here from Team Excelsior. Not going to go for that aggressive play this time compared to the last time. They actually got hit pretty hard back over on their home though, so this is not too surprising of a move, to be completely honest, them wanting to be a little bit more defensive. But keep in mind too is that the offensive play they did last round actually worked, whereas again they still managed to open up with an advantage, to be completely honest here. So them playing more defensively, I don't necessarily know if this was the appropriate move. They still could have gone over for that far node point and pushed it instead of just having two guys go to home, and as you can see, even with the two guys at home, they still managed to lose over there too. So with that said, if anything, this reset has actually managed to come out at an advantage towards our blue team here, Outplayed by Children, as they are going to directly open with a 2-cap now and really start to rocket ahead here, even in middle too. It is looking like things are going fairly well for Outplayed by Children here in terms of the health pool. Zombify going down, very quick res from the red team, granted there coming out from Excelsior. But at the same time here, a blue team definitely does have the staging ground as well as the bargaining position in a lot of these fights when you consider the health pools and probably the cooldowns as well for the members on Team Excelsior in this mid fight. But continuing on with it, seeing if we have anything else going on here, you can actually see that Cade is looking to possibly cross over here into the waterfall into blue team territory specifically, as he is going up against Fantaram at the moment, but having a little bit of trouble getting past Fantaram there. You can see again, always up against the DDLE there. It's going to be a very annoying fight really for any thief, because thieves really have to get within melee range to do most of their damage, and that is where just in general, Cade is not going to be in the best spot, because there is quite a bit of kind of surprise melee spike that'll end up coming out there from Fantaram if he's not paying attention to it, and there's not really many tells of that either, so Cade has to be really careful. Cade's going all in for it right now at the moment, going for that big DPS, but there was that spike I was just talking about. Really ended up hurting Cade, and that'll immediately force him into onto a defensive standpoint, and as well directly into his SR. Doesn't really have any cooldowns left. I think he'll go for one more burst chain as with this Basilisk Venom being popped. But beyond that, I don't really think he'll be pressuring for a decap or a cap over here any further. Nice connection on the backstab, but other than that, it looks like Fantaram has managed to handle it quite well. Cade actually still going for the full burst. There might manage to top itself off. We did have a misform pop by Fanta. Let's see how much health he can try to regenerate here. If Cade can re-engage properly just one more time and or interrupt him here, it looks like Cade might actually be able to take this 1v1 here. Very, very close. Backpack is on his way there too though, so regardless, I think Cade will get forced into the downstate, if not out of this fight here. And yep, there you go. Cade will go down, and blue team will have a secure hold on this point. Back over towards mid, things are still looking fairly stalemated. But albeit, the blue team has definitely the staging ground here. As you can see, Nos has been forced into a very odd position with them really being thrown over here towards the corner. You've still got Kensuda on node to no surprise, obviously, but in general, blue team has pretty much free movement of this entire zone. And with that said, blue team really is just controlling the entire map here at the moment because of that. We're going to rotate pretty much all of their guys over here towards the quarry. They did actually manage to score a decap due to slightly slow rotations coming in there from Outplayed by Children, but that should not affect them too much. And talk a little bit more about what I believe these teams are trying to do here at the moment though, is I think Team Excelsior once again is trying to go for a reset back over towards their home though. They're again approaching that scenario where blue team has actually managed to get into what is probably the best spot for them. They've managed to spread out, they've managed to get themselves into smaller skirmishes, and unfortunately that is just going to end up being a bad day for the entirety of Team Excelsior. At the same time, however, with them going for this reset, that if, assuming Outplayed wants to actually take the bait on that, that will actually force most of Outplayed's members to come into a much, much larger team fight where Team Excelsior starts to gain their advantage. They're built much more for fighting as a unit, they're built much more for coordination and things like that. So with that said, if they're able to take the bait there and force that fight to happen, I do have a pretty strong indication that Excelsior will take it. Another thing to keep in mind though is that even with this fight being forced, they don't actually have, they don't actually have Kensuda in this fight either. I think they may have been counting on Kensuda possibly to go down in mid and or to transfer himself directly off of the graveyard point to assist with that, and because he's not been there to support this team, look at it, it's just been a massacre here for the red team. 3 of their members are going to go into the downstate at the exact same time, and this will once again just open up the floor for blue team to rotate completely around this map there. A good ideal from the red team, but unfortunately fairly bad execution there without having their bunker guardian in play, especially when they try to force a fight that large. We will see Kensuda pushing over here towards the waterfall though, so that could be the next node they try to fight for. You did have one player from the red red team there, Cade. But again, even with Cade going down, once again, that's going to stop their plans as well, and Kinsuda will be forced to fall back over here, and he's just camping inside the base at the moment. Once again here, our blue team on the resetted game is actually playing much, much better than they were in the actual one. And with that said here now, we do have red team moving in towards their next fight. They are going to try to push over towards the quarry. Blue team is going to be given plenty of time, though, in order to actually get themselves into a staging position. For that, you've got Backpack up on top here, just tossing grenades. You can already see the offensive from the red team being split up by quite a bit here. Zeus went in on his own over there. You've got Nas, who slowly managed to get in. Ken is just getting there now. And even behind that, you've got, I believe it is, you've got Zombify off on his lonesome. Cade as well is going to try to get a decap on the waterfall, but at the same time, you've also got Fantram within the general vicinity, who should easily be able to stop Zeus from going, or should easily be able to stop Cade from getting those decaps back over there. And at the moment, the current scores are 321 to 0 points, with Outplayed absolutely massacring Team Excelsior here at the moment. Heading back over here, we do have, though, a blue team knocking out Zombify, managing to kind of overwhelm him right there as well. And with us approaching the 350 point mark, they're actually just going to go directly for the Lord and try to end the game this quickly. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure if Excelsior is going to try to stop them too hard. We don't really have anyone falling back. If Spawns attempt to stop it, that'll be fine, but they've already engaged here. They're pulling it off right now. If they can get it into the corner right over here, that's pretty much all they need, and the red Lord will probably get knocked out with little to no contestation. Zombify has spawned. He'll probably come over here. Won't be surprised if we see a fear mark or something like that, but the Lord is under a lot of pressure. Heal comes off from the Lord. Actually, heal not going to get interrupted there, so there's still a possibility this Lord Rush can fail with them having healed up by that much. A lot of it comes down to how well Zombify can control and spread condies onto both of these guys as well here, though. Going into Plague form at the moment here, too, just try and get blinds off within melee range there. Raw getting very low here as well, with the Condies slowly ticking away at him. I'm actually somewhat surprised we didn't see more of an all-in from the blue team, to be completely honest on this. They had pretty much, they could easily all-in on this without any consequences whatsoever there and get guaranteed kill. But regardless, it looks like they are going to get it there anyway. So with that said, the blue team, Outplayed by Children, is going to be taking game 2 here now as well, bringing themselves up to a 2-0 lead, with the final score of this game being 5 to 555 in favor of Outplayed by Children. So with that said, guys, we're going to take another very quick break here as we load into our third map, and we actually have to take a couple extra minutes here because we got to get ourselves over to it. We have to change the map rotation on the server once more, but as soon as we are set and ready to go, game 3, the match point between Team Excelsior and Outplayed by Children, is coming up in just a few minutes, guys. Stick around.
chance to nail down your strategy.
And welcome back, folks, once again to the grand finals of the Misspedia Weekly number 16. It is Team Excelsior versus Outplayed by Children. We just saw the repeat of Game 2 going into the favor of Outplayed by Children. Very dominantly, I believe, again, we had the final score being 5-5-5 to 5 in the favor of Outplayed there. So with that said, heading into Game 3 now, we're going to see if Team Excelsior can get out this bit of a hump they've been trying to get over and see if they'll be able to take a Game 3 and push us into a Game 4, or if Outplayed will take us to a clean sweep. And once again, we'll see a little bit of 3L. But with that said, opening up the map to very quickly kind of overview of the splits after they've all happened here. Blue team going all in over here towards the red team home node. Fanta staying back to cap it with Backpack and RAR heading over towards the keep to ensure, heading over towards the keep to try and get some extra pressure going. Cade actually just completely bailed off the mine after he had been left behind the cap that there. Instead decided to rotate around and is now supporting Nos. Ken is also on his way back up here too. At the same time, to note what has happened back over here at the Henge, red team, after they put all that pressure onto the node, managed to take that pretty dominantly. Only H-Man was back there defending that. So with that said, red team will open up with a 2-cap, but there is going to be quite a bit of pressure stopping them from actually getting a security on it. But with that said, though, actually, no, it does not look like that pressure is going to stay there for too long. So with that said, what's going on? Alright, sorry about that, folks. But anyway, we're back into the cast here for a second. Just a note too, as well, just to kind of tell you the reason as to why I went silent there for a second. Backpack is actually running with the wrong kit, I believe. Just going to see what he's actually running here at the moment. Yeah, so actually he's running with nades, but he was telling me that he didn't want nades, so for some reason he requested a reset in that regard, but unfortunately we do not give reset for missed abilities. And with that in mind, we will continue on with the game. Team Excelsior obviously playing much, much better this time around, though. As you can see, taking that 2-cap right off the bat. This, to be completely honest, is probably the best map for them. In terms of their ability to force a large team fight, this is where they can do that the easiest. There is the least amount of space between the points here. It's a lot easier to rotate around that, and as well, it's a lot easier in general to just force a very large team fight, which is what Team Excelsior needs to do. I personally thought we were going to see a lot more of it on the last map, but unfortunately, again, that did not actually end up happening due to what appeared to be, again, some really messed up rotations coming out there from Team Excelsior there, which really kind of ended up screwing them over. They were only ignoring these smaller node fights. They were trying to push into them instead of just pushing for big engagements. On this map, it's really impossible to avoid fighting as a huge unit on this map. So with that said, I do feel that Excelsior is going to be fighting much, much stronger on this map, regardless of, in general, how they rotate themselves. With that said, however, going into the actual fights themselves, we do see Blue Team pushing 3 guys back over onto their home node here at the moment. Zombie as well as Zeus are going to be attempting to defend that. And then back over towards middle, you've also got a pressure coming in from both RAR as well as Fanta going up against Ken. But Ken is actually just going to bail off that. He's given that up. Instead, it looks like they're going to trade that for the red team home node once again, as Nas is taking full control of that. And actually, again, Ken's actually not going to give that up fully. He just rotated off to give himself some breathing room there for a second. Cade is in this fight too, but with both RAR and Fanta in play, both of which the potential to completely murder Cade in one swing of the hammer and or use of the dagger. He does have to be extremely careful with how he chooses to engage here. Nos is also in play in an attempt to save Ken as he got knocked out there. They actually do get Ken back up, but now Ken has to try and save Cade, and because of all this off-point rising they've been having to do, unfortunately there was a full cap being claimed over here fully by the members of the blue team. Nos as well, getting very close to getting Cade back up. They will do it successfully. To note that as well, that Ken actually took quite a brunt of damage in the process of trying to get Cade back up, so that's going to be very bad. And once again, it's just downing after downing after downing back over here. Nos will now go down too. Cade with some nice spike on a Phantom might actually get an opportunity to knock him out of play, but at the same time, he's got to do it very, very quickly, as the timer over here for Ken is not going to be very long either. He is extremely low. Cade really can't stay in the fight here with 4 full members of Outplayed by Children being in the fray here. And with that said, Cade's pretty much going to get forced off node. Cade, again, good counting of the numbers though. He'll rotate back over there towards the Henge and should be able to get a decap there without any trouble whatsoever. But for the rest of his teammates back over here on the keep, if they do continue to try and fight for that, it's not going to be a pretty day for them, as once again, Ken will get knocked out there, and without him, they don't really have anyone else that can act as a secondary bunker. It's very much been sort of a mainstay in comps too, just to note that as well for Team Excelsior here. They've always tried, a lot of teams, at least recently in the meta, have always tried to have kind of a secondary bunker, whether that decides to be apologies, whether that decides to be kind of a dagger celestial elementalist or even a even like something like a soldier's handbow or something like that. There always just seems to be kind of a tanky secondary player that can sit on the node, or even spirit rangers kind of serve that role too, and they were kind of more of a thing in the meta a few months ago. But right now, unfortunately, red team doesn't really have that. I do have to note, obviously, that Zeus once more is playing that dagger celestial build. He switched off of his scepter focus fresh air build, but even that build again is more of it was probably at the lower end of the tanky spectrum as far as those secondary bunker roles go. So he really probably won't be able to tank that for very long anyway. Something like a soldier's handbow, or in general even like a spirit ranger, would be much more suited for that sort of role. And without that, unfortunately, the second their bunker guardian goes down, everything just deteriorates for Team Excelsior on those nodes. But we still have a very close game here, guys. It's 227 to 214 in favor of Excelsior at the moment, but looking like it may shift into the favor of Outplayed here very quickly. H-Man is capturing the henge here in a second. He will have to go up against Zombify to hold on to the node, but again, with H-Man on Warrior, he should have no trouble whatsoever actually keeping himself on the node. Zombie might have a bit of a hard time trying to go for the decap there, just considering again that H-Man is running the build he is running. But if he takes his time, he definitely still might have an opportunity to range him down for a very long period of time. But at the same time, there's also a pretty large opportunity for H-Man to get some more reinforcements from the rest of his team heading over into that fight. But going back over to the, going back over here towards the mine, we have Nas and Ken. Good knockback from Ken there, going up against both Fanta and Backpack. Zeus is also coming into play, but as is Magic Toker here. Magic Toker just getting revealed. We'll have to see once again with him engaged here if he puts himself into any bad scenarios whatsoever. Good Corrupt Boon does come out there, I believe from Zombify, or no, apologies, coming out there from, I believe it was Nas, actually going to completely destroy Magic Toker. And again, with him at a play, that is quite a bit of damage missing from the team fight, and that does give the red team quite a bit of breathing room here to try and take back control of this node. Blue team, however, is still fighting very efficiently on the other two nodes, but at the same time, it's looking like they may be losing control of the blue team home node over the next few seconds. Back over here, back over here looking at H-Man at the moment, who was just knocked out. That is going to open up the gates here for Zombify to possibly take control of the henge. Keep in mind, of course, that you still have Rar back over here, but Rar, again, it's pretty much going to be the same story here with Cade in play. He can provide the kind of distraction needed, but whoa, what was that? Magic Toker kind of popping out of nowhere there, going for that big deeps as well on Cade will actually stop a lot of that, but look at the retaliation from Cade, and no! Magic Toker shuts it down once again here. Very good Thief 1v1. Looks like, again, though, that Magic Toker just going to barely come out on top there. Cade had that big DPS from the Stolen Word ability, but at the same time, Magic Toker just barely knocking him out at the end of the day. They're very well played there, indeed, and at the end of it, it looks like we're going to be seeing the blue team take back control of their home node after all. Blue team as well is going to try to take this snowball potential back over here towards mid, where we just saw we just saw Kinsuda knocking out Fanta in this 1v1 here, but no, they're actually bypassing middle completely here. Instead, they're going to get back up, and it looks like they may pressure back over towards their opponent's home node. Interesting choice, but still I can see why they may be doing that, considering that Kinsuda, once again, on the bunker guard is going to elongate the duration of really any fights they try to push with him in it by quite a large number. If they go for really any other point, they don't have a tanky carrier like I discussed before. They don't have really any sort of tanky player like I discussed before. So with that in mind, it is going to make those fights a lot quicker if they just avoid Kinsuda overall in this game here at the moment. But with that said, Backpack actually ended up getting locked down once again by Zeus and Zombify there, and he is actually going to get knocked out here, so this will slow the blue team's progress by quite a bit. H-Man is now trying to recover from this by pushing very quickly over towards his opponent's home node there, but again, there is a lot of kind of chaos following him here at the moment with both, I believe it is Zombify and Zeus. There's going to be quite a bit of DPS from him to deal with. Magic Toker also got locked in over there by Kinsuda, so this decap, this full cap actually that's been taken by Fantaram may not be lasting too long. They may actually let him cap it here. They may actually let him hold on to it here too when you consider that. Back over here, they've also managed to take yet another decap back at the henge. Nas and Cade are pushing into that, but overall here, once again, it's still a very even game at the moment. Apologies. That's still a very even game here. A lot of it is going to come down to just how well the red team can hold on in a lot of these smaller skirmishes. Blue team has very much so found that, again, the magic key to winning these fights is just avoiding wherever Kinsuda is. If they avoid him, once again, all they really have to deal with is a bunch of light armored and or squishier characters. The second tankiest person is going to be Zeus, but once again, like I said before, even he can get knocked out fairly quickly with enough focus. So as long as they just in general avoid the fights where Kinsuda's in, I personally feel that Outplayed should be able to rotate around this. But at the same time, if they don't do that, or again, if the rotations from Team Excelsior are quick enough, and if the fights are quick enough too, if they can really end it before it's even an issue here, then we will still see an Excelsior victory in this game, and we will see a Game 4, possibly even a Game 5 too, as our next one will be over on the Battle of Kylo if it is needed. But still a very close game here, and it could still go either way. Heading back to some of the fights though, Zombify is going to be taking a full cap at the mine in just a second. Cade kind of holding off a 1v1 over here against both Fantaram and Backpack God, so it's actually 1v2. obviously. But with that said, again, it's going to get brought down to a 2v1, as I believe we see Phantom moving back over towards middle in an attempt to recapture that, as that was actually decapped in favor of Team Outplayed by Children just a few moments ago here. Backpack, unfortunately, with the 2v1, however, really not going to be in the best scenario to try and do anything over at this point. I won't be surprised at all if he tries to leave, but at the same time, with a dagger pistol keep kind of in his midst here, there may not be an option for him to leave, so he has to be very, very careful with that. He may kind of just be staying here out of the fact that he really doesn't have anywhere to go. He will probably get DPS down right there, though. Fanta coming back off of mid, though, might have an opportunity to save him. Unfortunately, looking like it's going to be rather unlikely, though, as Fanta is much more focused on getting to the point itself. And then back over here towards the Henge, there is a little bit of pressure coming off there as well. As I get over to Zeus's, where is Zeus's point of view? There we go. As we get over to Zeus's point of view, you can see him going up against Rar. Rar, in general, I feel, in a close man-on-man engagement, does have a very slight advantage here, but at the same time, Zeus does have quite a few cooldowns when he's in DD there in order to ensure he can stay on the node and stay competitively on the node there too, making sure his team holds on to the cap here. At the same time, something else to consider as well is that the bosses are actually both still up and still in play. Neither team has made any use of them, but I feel that Outplayed may kind of need to make use of these bosses here if they want to make the comeback. But at the same time, they now have full control of not only the mid node, but their opponent's home node back over here at the mine as well. So they are still technically within points range to come back into this game and win it too. So I don't know. This is still going to be a very close outcome. It's gonna decide right here over the next few minutes. These bosses may actually decide it for us if we'll see the clean sweep 3-0 or if Team Excelsior will finally make the comeback here in our third game. But taking a look once more here, red team is very slowly running out of gas, and there will actually be another decap. There'll be a decap on both ends of the spectrum, actually. H-Man will score a decap back over here at the Henge as well. So with that said, blue team having the only secure cap at the moment. Cade as well going for a 1v1 against Chief, and that's a very slow 1v1 with him in it, granted there, because he does have to make use of the black powder. But once again, with Rar also engaging it, this does speed it up a little bit in the favor of Cade, but at the same time, Rar is really only over there to screw things up. And with that said, oh, both these ended up going there for a Heartseeker, but Magic Toker, I believe, apologies, I think it was actually Cade. Yeah, Cade managed to claim that one, thankfully, just out of pure luck, as both of them went for that Heartseeker at the same time. But Cade's strike landed last, and with that said, last or first, and with that said, he was able to get the 25 points. Full decaps across the board here. Blue team does finally get a full cap back over at their home node, and they are ticking points once again, but with two members of the red team going for the Spawner boss, if they don't stop it here, red team is still going to win this game. Magic Toker is on his way. Will he be able to snipe this boss? He's waiting in the corner here right now, about to come in for the Daves, and he snipes it. He snipes the boss. It's now a 1-1 cap, and it looks like, again, unless we see a red team cap back over on mid, that it is going to go into the favor of Outplayed by Children. Backpack is in the down state, but he's again, for some reason, red team is bailing off that node. They're going to try and throw everything they have over here onto the Henge, but it is just not enough. And with that excellent snipe coming out there from Magic Toker to save the day right there, his team, Outplayed by Children, is going to win this game and win this tournament in a 3-0 victory. They are going to be taking home the 2,000 gems per player for tonight. So congrats once again to Raw, H-Man, Backpack, Fantram, and especially Magic Toker for being the MVP there, saving that game for his team. And as well, congratulations to our second place team, Team Excelsior, with Nas, Ken, Zombify, Cade, and Zeus for getting second place. They will each be taking home an 800 gem code. But with that said, guys, that is the end of tonight's cup. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Don't forget that the Tournament of Legends Grand Finals are happening this weekend. The streams will start at 3 p.m. Eastern and noon Pacific for both the North American and the European Finals. The European Finals is on Saturday, and the North American Finals is on Sunday. Don't forget as well to sign up for these cups. Every week they happen. We usually put our signups up either on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night, so be sure to check over at battlefy.com/mistpedia for all the information needed to sign up on those cups. We also have a sticky post over on the PvP events forum that does explain more info. Of course, be sure to check us out over at mistpedia.net. We need plenty of people to help us out with the site itself, guys, and again, you don't really need to affiliate yourself with us or anything in order to actually help with the site. Just go ahead over there, make an account, verify your email, and then just go ahead and start editing away. Help us get information up for tournaments and any other thing that really has to do with Guild Wars 2 PvP. You can put it on Mistpedia for reference, and really any new players can take a look at that and hopefully get themselves a little bit more into the scene. But with that said, guys, thank you all very much for tuning in for tonight. I unfortunately don't have any gem giveaways to do. I may have something to give away a little bit later if I do a personal stream or something, but for now, that is going to be it. So thank you all, guys, very much for tuning in, and if you cannot join us for any other events happening throughout the week, we hope you'll join us next week at the Mistpedia Weekly Cup number 17. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time.